Let's dive right into this explainer, and I want us to completely reframe how we think about summer and our personal health priorities. If you're living and working in a fast paced environment, it is just incredibly easy to let preventative health slide right off your radar. I'm speaking to you on behalf of the medical educators at Westminster Multispecialty Clinic in Dubai, Healthcare City. And today, we're taking a step back to look at the clinical reality of an annual health checkup. We're going to explore exactly why these coming months present a really unique, often completely overlooked opportunity to reset your physical baseline and finally take charge of your well-being.
So be honest with yourself for a second. How many times have you said, I'll book that appointment when work slows down, or I'll do it right after this next big project wraps up? At Westminster Multispecialty Clinic, we see a very, very relatable pattern with our fast-paced Dubai patients who are constantly pushing their health to the absolute bottom of the to-do list. It's definitely not that they don't care, it's just that life always seems to get in the way, right? It's honestly like a predictable cycle that we see play out every single year. You start out strong in January, adding that health checkup to your New Year's resolutions. But then by February, it gets quietly deferred. In March, it's completely swallowed up by work deadlines. By April, it loses all its urgency entirely, and here we are heading into May, and it barely even registers on your radar anymore. It's lived on your to-do list for so long that it has practically become invisible. But here's a little secret about living here. That assumed chaos of the summer, it's kind of a myth for a lot of us. We tend to think of summer as this massively disruptive time, and sure, for some people it is. But for many Dubai residents, the city's pace legitimately slows down between June and August, and that creates these genuine pockets of availability that simply do not exist during those frantic winter months. It's literally a hidden window of clinical opportunity sitting right in front of us. Think about why the summer schedule practically works out so well. School is out, which means morning routines are way less frantic. Certain intense work pressures naturally start to ease up. Your social commitments thin out as people travel. And let's face it, we're all spending a lot more time indoors, hiding in the AC anyway. Paradoxically, with your colleagues away, it can actually make scheduling a few hours for yourself so much easier. Establishing a health baseline right now is incredibly logical. Do it before the extreme heat and summer travel completely disrupt your routine. Getting a baseline under these conditions is vastly more useful than waiting until the mad dash at the end of the year. Okay, so let's clear the air for a second. What does a real checkup actually involve? We need to talk about what goes down during an assessment, because a lot of people have these major misconceptions that just cause unnecessary friction and avoidance. They either assume it's going to be a massive waste of time, or they get totally intimidated by the perceived complexity of the whole shebang.
Because people usually picture one of two extremes, don't they? Either it's a super quick 5-minute stethoscope tab and a rushed blood pressure reading, or they picture this overly elaborate, unnecessarily expensive ordeal. But in practice, a truly valuable checkup is an unhurried assessment. It takes into account your age, your family history, your lifestyle, your sleep patterns, and any of those lingering concerns you might have just been carrying around quietly.
So what does the real deal actually look like? Well, we're talking about looking at blood pressure and cardiovascular risk, fasting glucose, cholesterol, and body weight metrics. We also evaluate thyroid function when it's indicated, review your current medications, and conduct age and gender-specific screenings. But crucially, it includes a real, honest conversation about your sleep and your stress. Our team's approach at Westminster Multispecialty Clinic ensures we look at all these crucial components together to get a completely integrated picture of your metabolic and cardiovascular health. But here's the million-dollar question. Understanding the psychology of why we delay this is key. Even when we have the time and we know exactly what the checkup entails, why on earth do we keep waiting? There is usually a very specific underlying reason behind the deferral, and it actually has nothing to do with our calendars and absolutely everything to do with our mindset.
The fears are incredibly relatable when you look at them. Some folks are genuinely just worried about what a doctor might actually find. Others operate on the assumption that, hey, if I have no obvious symptoms, there's absolutely no problem. And a few just feel overwhelmed by the whole thing and simply don't know where to even start. These fears make total sense, but as medical educators, we really have to emphasize that none of them are good reasons to keep waiting. Ignoring a potential issue does not magically make it go away.
Which brings us to my really foundational truth in medicine, and that is, most of the conditions that cause serious harm over time do not announce themselves early. Now, I want to be super clear here. This is not a reason to panic. Actually, scratch that, it's the exact opposite. It is an empowering clinical reality check.
It reinforces the fact that early detection consistently and meaningfully changes your outcomes. You literally hold the power to uncover these things well before they become disruptive to your life.
And understanding that silent progression, that is literally the whole game when it comes to preventative health. Waiting until you actually feel something, waiting until you have undeniable symptoms, is very often waiting way too long. The window you have for a simple, straightforward intervention narrows significantly once a condition finally becomes symptomatic.
We're talking about specific, stealthy threats that we constantly monitor. Things like high blood pressure, elevated blood sugar, raised cholesterol, early thyroid dysfunction, and certain early-stage cancers. These specific conditions can be present and progressing for years inside your body before they produce any noticeable symptoms that actually feel significant enough for you to act on. They just operate quietly in the background, which is exactly why proactive screening is completely non-negotiable.
And the difference in how this plays out for you long-term is absolutely massive. Discovering an issue early usually means we can just address it with a simple lifestyle tweak, maybe adjusting your diet a bit, monitoring your sleep better, or tweaking your exercise routine. Whereas waiting until it genuinely hurts or until it's undeniable often severely limits our options down to intensive medications and much more complex long-term management. Early detection quite literally gives you more choices. Now, tying this all back to our specific environment here, this dynamic is exactly why doing this assessment during the summer is absolutely critical for residents. Summer in Dubai places very specific, intense demands on the human body. Getting a health checkup before or during the early summer months can actually surface hidden issues that the cooler, way more forgiving winter months sometimes mask.
It's genuinely fascinating how the changing seasons can shift our baselines. The extreme heat and routine disruptions can push a borderline winter blood pressure straight into a range that suddenly warrants clinical attention once those temperatures climb. The exact same thing goes for blood sugar in pre-diabetic patients. Summer diet changes and a drop in physical activity can shift those readings meaningfully. The summer environment basically acts as a stress test for your body, revealing vulnerabilities that might otherwise just stay totally hidden.
And here is a massive point of confusion we run into all the time. Symptoms like profound fatigue, weight changes, disrupted sleep, and heat intolerance are so easily dismissed as ordinary summer complaints. I mean, everyone feels tired in the Dubai heat, right? But the reality is they are also classic signs of thyroid dysfunction. A simple blood test can clearly distinguish between the two, ensuring a real medical issue isn't just being blamed on the weather.
So how do we make sense of all this data? Well, there is a huge difference between one isolated reading and a true health pattern. At Westminster Multispecialty Clinic, what we see with patients all the time is that a mildly elevated number is just a data point. It only becomes clinically useful information when a doctor who actually knows you puts it into the context of your daily life, your history, your stress levels, your sleep habits.
Because that context, it is absolutely everything. Our family medicine team's ultimate goal is to look at your health patterns over time. A doctor who knows you doesn't just read results off a page. They read your results against everything they know about your life. This long-term clinical relationship allows us to provide genuine reassurance and highly tailored advice, rather than just delivering cold verdicts based on a single day's snapshot.
So I want to leave you with a final thought. Annual health checkups really only work when they are, well, annual. Are you going to let another year slip quietly by, waiting for some better moment that never actually comes? Take advantage of the summer slowdown right now. Step out of that deferral cycle, set your health up for the rest of the year, and reach out to our team at Westminster Multispecialty Clinic to get started. Because ultimately, your health is the one asset you simply can't afford to delegate. Don't wait for the symptoms to show up. What hidden baseline could you uncover today?